welcome to the Bro Country Podcast. My name is Joey, and I'm joined by my co-host.
This is Chris here.
Hey Chris, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. How's it going over there, Joey?
Not bad. Just ready to get this first episode going. What do you think?
Man, we've been talking about it for a while, haven't we?
Yeah, we sure have. So I think to start it out, we just want to thank our listeners for joining in for our first episode and kind of tell you guys a little bit about the show and how we met and kick it off. What do you think, man?
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, so on this show, guys, we're going to be talking about all things country music. So whether that's album rankings, reviews, live show reviews, news out of Nashville, up-and-coming artists, we're going to be talking all that. So that's kind of what our show is going to be about. For this first episode, we just wanted to do kind of an introduction of how Chris and I met, some of our favorite artists, and just talk to you guys about some of the latest news out of Nashville. So we're super excited to bring all that information to you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, this is going to end up being pretty much like the conversations that you and I have every day anyways. So people are just going to get a little bit of a insight into the text that we send back and forth all day long about our obsession with country music.
Yeah, it'll be cool to put it through this platform instead of just
Absolutely,
on our iPhones all day, right?
Absolutely. So what's been going on in Nashville, you think? I mean, today is October 8th, 2020. So what's been going on in Nashville the last week or so?
Well, there's some good and some bad. We'll start with the good. We know that Luke Combs is about to drop his deluxe album coming up on October 23rd with 5 unreleased tracks. I think I can speak for us both when I say we're excited about that. How are you feeling, man?
For one thing, he announced it mid-August, so it seemed like it was going to take a while to get here, but it's 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, and he's been doing like the teaser clips on Facebook and Instagram and all that, like a minute clips or so of all the songs. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I think we've heard most of them. Even the other guy we'd heard Job Fortner sing about a year ago on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean I remember seeing the clip of Job singing it, and he mentioned that Luke and Rob Williford, Rowdy as we know him, had wrote the song, and it was just a song that he had connected to and loved. And I mean, it's similar to most of Luke's music, and it's just so relatable. Everybody has been through the subject matter of that song, so I think that's going to it'll be a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's cool that Luke got to take the song. And I mean, no disrespect to Job, he crushed it on that video. I saw he did really well, but I think it'll be great for Luke's audience to hear that. And
yeah, I think that means there's really only one of the songs that none of us know anything about. What's it called? What's it called, Joey? Is it My Kind of Folk?
I think that sounds about right.
Yep, I think it is.
And then Cold as You, the other guy.
Yeah, I mean I'd say the fans are probably most excited for Forever After All. It seems to be the one that everybody's the most pumped about.
Yeah, that one's going to be really good. Without You, he released a little bit earlier, so we got a little bit of a preview on that one, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, the 5 tracks, Cold as You, the other guy, My Kind of Folk, Without You, and Forever After All. So I think that's going to be a jam and deluxe album for Luke.
It is. I mean, as we'll get into, we're about as big of Luke fans as you can get. So you're going to be hearing a lot of stuff on Luke on this podcast. Yeah,
absolutely. But in other news, Eric Church dropped a new song last week that I'm absolutely in love with. It's called Hell of a View. What are you thinking about that new track by Eric?
Well, what is this? This is the 4th track he's released from this new project that he hasn't really announced totally yet, but he's kind of been dropping hints and little snippets here and there. I would say of the 4 new tracks, this is probably my favorite of the 4. I mean, Stick That in Your Country Song, which was the first song that he released, which is the lead single, the radio single, is an incredible song. But this new one is just, it's classic church, and it's just you can jam to it all day long. I'm freaking loving it. I know you are too.
Oh yeah, man. I've listened to that thing so many times since he dropped it, but I love that one. Stick That in Your Country Song is awesome because you get that rocker, kind of that's damn rock and roll vibe. I think that's how it's going to go at a live show. You know what I mean?
It's going to be the show opener. I think I think we already can envision what that's going to be like once we're allowed to start going to shows again.
Yeah, oh God, I can't wait. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Bad Mother Trucker. It's kind of grown on me a little bit, but I'm not in love with it. Are you digging that one yet? Or
Yeah, I haven't gone back to it as much as I have Crazy Land, and obviously Stick That in Your Country Song.
yeah, and
But it's,
Crazy Land
you know,
is yeah,
it's a
Crazy
good one.
Land.
Yeah, Crazy Land's a good one too.
That one is such a good play on words. I love that
Yeah.
one. About all the reasons
Yeah,
why
I
people
mean,
go drown in their sorrows at the bar, pretty much.
I think when it comes to church, like the expectations are so high that when he releases a song like Bad Mother Trucker, at first it takes a little while to realize that some songs are just going to be fun songs. Some songs are just every song can't be the most profound, most amazing song ever released, and Eric's got a bunch of songs like that in his past that are just put it on, groove to it, and just have a good time.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just excited for the full project. I've heard rumors that we're going to get it towards the beginning of next year. I'm not too sure when. There's no official release date for the full project, but he was up in the mountains of North Carolina with his crew riding for 20 something days, I think, and
Yeah, I think that's what he said. And what
yeah, like
was that?
28
January
days
of
or
this
something.
January or February of this year?
Yeah, and I think he said that he was up for like 4 nights in a row, just mentally pumping out songs because they would write a song, cut the song the same day. So they were writing it and cutting it the same day, which is freaking crazy, but pretty
Yeah, yeah.
badass.
I mean, to think that you've taken all of the people that you write the songs with, you've taken your producer Jay Joyce, you've taken all the studio musicians to a cabin essentially
Yeah,
down in the Carolinas, and you just are pumping out this freaking amazing music that everybody's going to be excited to hear. That sounds exactly like something that church would do.
yeah, yeah. Just I think he said that it kind of felt like The Shining, where they were just like secluded out in the mountains and
That's
like
funny.
going crazy with the music. But yeah, we're excited for that, guys. That's going to be a great project. And another cool drop that just happened recently was Cody Johnson's duet with Reba on Deer Rodeo. Have you heard that
Oh
yet?
yeah, yeah. It. I already. I mean, that's it. That's a song that Cody had put on this last record that he had wrote. It's kind of an autobiographical song. It's been out for a year and a half. So I already loved the song, but for him to have Reba jump on there with him and release it, I think they released it this last Friday. I'm loving it so far. Really, really like it.
And it's cool because they both were in the rodeo before becoming country musicians.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that's an ode to both of them and their past. And
Yeah, I think Cody's recent, so people know his story of being a rodeo guy and coming up through the ranks and then jumping into country. But I think a lot of people forget kind of where Reba started, and it is really cool to see her jump on a song like this with somebody that's as traditional country as Cody Johnson is.
yeah, and Reba, correct me if I'm wrong. I think she was discovered while singing the national anthem. It's at some event, right? And that's how she kind
Yeah,
of got
yeah.
found.
Yeah, that's
Was
how
it
she
at a
got found.
rodeo?
Her granddad was a world champion rodeoer. Her dad was. I mean, she grew up on on a farm and a ranch in Oklahoma, and yeah, I think you're right. I think she was singing the national anthem, and it maybe at like the national rodeo, or one of the big rodeos there, and
Yeah.
somebody in Nashville saw it and convinced her to come to Nashville. I mean, that's 40 some years ago.
Still iconic, still
Oh,
killing
absolutely.
it. We,
Absolutely.
we saw Reba. Gosh, was it a year? With 2020 seems like a lifetime with everything that's been going on.
It does, doesn't it?
I think it was 2 years ago now that we saw Reba up in Dayton, Ohio, at a kind of small venue, and man, she still got it. She still got it. Amazing
Yes, she
show.
does. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
all
we saw her at the Ohio State Fair, I think, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and that was it was. I mean, like you said, she still got it,
yeah.
and
I haven't
I
got
mean,
to
what do
see
you
Cody
think? You
yet.
think this song's gonna be you think it'll be a radio hit? I mean, it's already a hit for Cody's fans. I mean, but do you think how do you think it's gonna do on radio?
And let's backtrack really quick. If you don't know Cody Johnson yet, go check him out. He's been huge in the Texas scene for over a decade now.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
just recently, over the last couple of years, signed his major Nashville label deal or whatever. So he's finally on country radio, but he's got a great voice. But I could see this one going to country radio for sure. I think it would be
yeah,
great.
yeah. Absolutely. I
I
mean,
think it'd do well.
Reba was just on "Be a Light" with Thomas Rhett
Hmm.
and Keith Urban and Hillary Scott and Chris Tomlin, and they had a big hit with it. And I mean,
Oh,
Reba,
yeah,
Reba's always going to be Reba. So I mean, she's definitely going to add some clout to the song. So
yeah.
I hope it has a chance to be his biggest radio hit to date, and I think it does have a good chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think it has a good chance. And I think it would be one that not only Cody's fans would like and Reba's. I just feel like it's a great tune that everybody could kind of chill out and jam out to in a sense, even though it's not really a jam.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but
I
yeah, man.
agree.
So
Anything else going on in Nashville right now?
well, we'll go ahead and get on to the bad news in Nashville. So we've got Mr. Morgan Wallen had a rough weekend. He went to the Alabama game this past weekend, and after the game, decided to go out and party, drink. Was at all the bars, hanging out with a bunch of girls, kissing them in the bars. I mean, he was all over the internet. Still is all over the internet. TikTok, especially. There's just so many girls posting videos with Morgan Wallen. Him like almost seemingly blacked out or really drunk at parties, playing his acoustic. So I don't know. How do you feel about that, man?
I mean, it's I have a I have a lot of feelings for about it. I mean, he was scheduled to play Saturday Night Live this coming Saturday. It would have been the second episode of the season. Country artists don't get booked on Saturday Night Live very often. I think in the last 3 years, there's been two country artists on Saturday Night Live: Luke Combs and Thomas Rhett. And so it was a huge opportunity for him. Which I mean, just in that sense, Saturday Night Live. Even though Morgan has tested negative for COVID, they've because of the protocols and because of how many people he was around, they had to pull the plug, and he's not going to be on the show this coming weekend. So, just in the musical sense and the business opportunity sense, it is a blow for him. And then it's just a reminder of fame and just everything that can go on with being a big star in today's world with social media and everything that is tied into that. I mean, it's easy to say that he made mistakes and shouldn't be acting that way. I'm sure there'll be more come out about it. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, I mean, he even went on social media to say, his apologies to the show, his fans, his team. I mean, personally, I think he did a really good job owning up to it. Because getting dropped by SNL, that's a big deal. Like you said, not many country artists get booked on there. So
yeah.
for his team and everybody giving that opportunity, and SNL to give him the opportunity to be on the show is huge. And I mean, he's hot right now. I mean, he is maybe not even as hot as Luke, but he's up there. I mean, I would say
Oh
he's in
yeah.
the
I mean, I
top
would
two,
say that
three.
they're definitely the two hottest guys that have came out in the last 4 or 5 years by far. I can't even think of anybody else that would be
Not even ranking
in
with those
there.
guys.
Yeah, up. I mean,
I
yeah,
mean, you've got your
he's.
legendary folks
Oh
like
yeah,
your Garth and your Church and those kind of folks, but I'm talking about new artists up and like hot right now.
oh
It's
yeah,
Morgan Wallen
yeah. I
and
mean,
Luke Combs.
yeah. I guess Kane Brown would be in that conversation. He's not quite as country as those guys, but he's definitely in that
Yeah,
conversation. But
he gets
yeah,
streams, that's for sure.
Morgan is on a fast track to superstar in the last year and a half, 2 years, and I'm sure he's getting to do stuff and have experiences that he hadn't had before.
Yeah.
And I think he's in the video, he owned up to it, like you said.
Yeah, I think this is something that could be a really good learning lesson for Morgan. I think it's something that's kind of going to slow him down a little bit, and who are we to judge? I mean, who knows what he's going through in his personal life? And
Yeah, absolutely.
I know his mother, the mother of his child, just went on social media and kind of defended him in a way and was like, "Hey, quit saying he's a deadbeat dad." Here's a screenshot of a text message of him trying to see his son and give us what we need. And I don't remember the exact details of the message, but something along the lines of, "Hey, can I see the kid?" Whatever.
Yeah,
Indy,
absolutely.
Indy, can I see Indy? And she's like, well, go take your COVID test, make sure you're negative, and we can arrange something. And he's like, are you guys good, or do you need anything? And she's like, no, we're good. And he's like, can you at least send me a picture? So I mean, he's trying to be involved from that aspect, and for her to go on social media and defend him and everything, I think that was a noble move by her. And like I said, maybe this is just something Morgan can learn from, come out stronger in the end, and we'll forget about this in a 6 month span, maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder of just how crazy of a time we're in right now with with COVID, and just with shows being shut down and people just being starved to see music and be around people. And I mean, people are really going through a rough time right now, and he's clearly going through a rough time, and we get to see that on social media and because he's famous. But we're all going through something rough right now.
And it also is just crazy how quick things spread in today's world. I mean, that's kind of been the case for a while, but in 2020, with all the different social media platforms, different types of smartphones and cameras out there, when you have you shouldn't be acting like that, period, but when you have a spotlight on you that's that big, you got to really take precautions of who you're around and the situations that you put yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good time to let you guys know that I'm 38, almost 39 years old, and Joey's a decade younger than I am. So Joey's seeing all this stuff pop up on TikTok, and I barely knew what TikTok was until about a month ago.
Yeah.
until Luke dropped the little teaser for Forever After All. I had never been on TikTok. I didn't have a TikTok account.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got on there. It was this year during the quarantine, because I felt like at first TikTok was like for kids, and everybody was like, oh, that's for kids and blah blah blah. And
yeah,
then eventually, like, people on my Facebook were sharing like funny videos with adults, and musicians and celebrities were using it, and I'm like, man, I gotta check this out. And come to find out, it's kind of like Vine. Were you ever on Vine?
I was on Vine at like the very, very end of Vine.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Vine, but you can make longer videos. I mean, it's a little more cringy than Vine with all the dances and the we won't even get into all that cringiness, but but yeah.
For Luke to drop a snippet of probably the song that he knows is going to be the biggest off of this deluxe, for him to drop that on TikTok shows the power of what these musicians know that TikTok has,
Oh yeah, well, have we so soon forgotten? Mr. Combs blew up on Vine, and that's kind of how he got his start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he knows the power of social media, and that was what, 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
when he was posting on there, and
yeah,
so he knows how to tease his fans, and that's something that Luke does all the time. That, as a huge fan of Luke, I cannot stand it. I think he is at the point of his career where he does not have to tease so much music and get the fans' approval. He, as many people have said, he could sing the phone book and people will listen and enjoy it. But on the flip side, he gives the people what they want, and that's why people love him. Yeah. He's relatable. Yeah. He's a real guy. People love Luke Combs, and
they do.
So that's something that drives me crazy about Luke. But then again, I enjoy listening to all those teasers anyway, and I'm not going to not listen.
Yeah, we sit there and say that we don't want teasers and we just want the album, but then when they give us the music, we love it. So it's kind of
the only thing that I don't like about it is it takes away that surprise factor from the albums, like the deluxe or the one.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The sophomore album was. There were quite a few songs on there that we hadn't heard, but I felt like 70% of that album I'd already heard just from going to so many live shows or from him posting them on social media.
Yeah, but the other thing we always have to remember, Joey, is that we're in a group of fandom with country music that most people aren't. So I mean,
that's true.
We've both been to shows before where we were the only people in the whole crowd that knew the words to the song songs.
Yeah, that's a true statement, my friend.
That is a true statement. And I mean, with all this Luke talk, I think this is probably a good time to jump into how we met.
Yeah.
And kind of how we got hooked up to do this. Kind of kick it off there, Joey. How did we meet?
Yeah, man. So I remember Luke Combs has a huge Facebook group. If you guys aren't in there, go check it out. Just search Luke Combs, the Bootleggers. There's over 100,000 people in there now. I think I joined when there
crazy.
was like 20K or less. I can't remember, but anyways, I'd seen you posting there quite a bit, and I think you'd seen me posting there. And
Yep.
one day, I think you sent me a Facebook message, and you were like, "Hey, man, I know we kind of have some similar opinions on a lot of Luke's stuff. When's your next show or something like that, something to that effect." And we just kind of started chatting on social media on Facebook, and had a lot of similar interests musically, personally, and one day I was working, and I mean, this was probably what, 6, 7 months later, if not longer than that, maybe
Yeah,
almost.
I mean, but we had kept talking about
Oh
Luke
yeah,
and
yeah,
country music that whole
yeah,
time.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we had been conversing constantly about country music and Luke, the award shows, new music that was coming out. I mean, we'd been talking for months and months, and for those of you who don't know, Chris lives in West Virginia, and I live in Ohio, so we live a few states apart. But Chris had tickets to one of the shows that Luke did in Columbus last year up at Flanagan's, which was a charity event.
Yep.
And I was working that afternoon, and I got a message from him, and he said, "Hey, man, you got tickets to the show tonight in Columbus?" And I was like, "Oh no, man, I'm going to Indiana on Friday." This was a Wednesday, right? It was a
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
and I was like,
you had tickets to the was it the Porter County Fair?
"Yeah, Porter County Fair. I had
Yeah.
tickets to go." And excuse me, you were like, "Well, man, I've got an extra ticket if you're interested." And I'm like, "Oh, how much?" And you're like, "Oh, nothing, man. Just meet me there. I just need someone to go with. The other person I'm supposed to go backed out or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, and
So,
at this point, getting to see Luke in a setting like what it was like there at Flanagan's was super rare, and we knew it was going to be super rare moving forward. So it was a
mhm.
pretty cool opportunity that I don't think either one of us wanted to miss.
Oh no, and it was a very, if you guys aren't familiar with Flanagan's, it's out of Dublin, Ohio, up near Columbus, I believe. Um, it's a smaller venue, and it was kind of like a sand volleyball type environment. I don't even know how to explain it, but like the pit was like sand, right?
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
were staying like this sand pit, and we were what, 10 rows back from the stage, if that, maybe
yeah.
ten
I mean,
rows, give or
well,
take.
I mean, you got there early, and then it rained.
Oh man.
It cleared the place out, so you were able to get a good spot.
Yeah, yeah. Chris was actually still on his way, and had to screenshot me the tickets so I could get into the venue and hold us a spot. And
That's funny.
this was an acoustic show by Luke. It was all acoustic, which I thought was cool. And Rob and Tyler, they were playing their acoustics too. So I thought that was an awesome setting. And like you mentioned, one that we may not ever get to see again in that type of environment.
Yeah, I mean, Luke went on last. I know Cadillac 3 were there. I can't.
Cadillac 3, I cannot
Can you
remember the
remember the
other
other
opener.
openers?
It was, I wasn't a fan. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was not. It wasn't very memorable. But then
But
again, it
what
was
was
super
memorable
hot.
was the 110-degree heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
not being able to go get a drink because we were shoved in the general admission area.
Yeah, shoved in the middle of the pit and couldn't get out, or we'd lose our spot and never get back in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think.
remember. Didn't Jennifer get a beer and we all kind of shared it
Yeah.
because we were so thirsty. We were. It was so hot and it was so humid because it just rained too. And yeah, but it was worth it. It was so worth it. I
Oh
wound
yeah,
up.
and that was obviously the first time we met. That was the first Luke concert we went to, and that kind of forged our friendship in country music that evening for sure.
Yeah, and I wound up selling my Porter County Fair tickets for that Friday of that week just because it was so hot and there was like a heat warning, and my dad was going to go with me, and he's older, he's not in the best health, so he didn't want to go stand out in that, and it was actually farther. It was like a 4 hour drive, I think, to get up there, and I was like, you know what, I just went Wednesday. Let's just sell these tickets off to another fan that can make it. So didn't wind up going to, to that show, um, but yeah, speaking of our friendship, I mean, we've been to a few shows together now, so we'll talk about that more. But
Yeah.
um, we Chris and I also wanted to kind of talk to you guys about who our favorite current artists are. Current artists, not of all time, but current artists. So, Chris, you want to go ahead and kick that off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Starting lowest to highest
oh,
in
lowest
rank.
to highest.
Yeah, lowest to highest.
Well, I would say that my third favorite current artist is John Party. I would go with Party right now. I mean, he's probably the most traditional sounding artist on the country radio right now, vocally and his band. He's out of California. He's got that kind of Bakersfield country sound, and he's kind of been able to, I mean, he just had a big kind of pop country hit with Thomas Rhett, but then he's able to bounce back with like his current single, It Ain't Always the Cowboy. That's one of the most traditional country sounding songs you're ever going to hear on the radio. It's kind of been a slow burn for me with Party. I mean, I've liked him since he came out, but he's definitely grown and grown and grown on me. And I mean, I'm super excited to see where he goes and what he does next.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Party, and I remember seeing him a couple of years ago. He opened up for Luke Bryan, and that was such a good show. I mean, he only played a few songs because he wasn't really as big as he is now, but he's really good. And I agree with you. He's got that Bakersfield sound, and that is a super traditional song for anything else you're going to hear in today's world of country music.
Yeah, absolutely.
My third current artist, I had a list, but now I'm rethinking it.
Oh, man.
But current, if we're talking currents, I'm going to go Cody Johnson. Just because he's got that Texas sound. I love the instruments he uses on his records. He's got that kind of, I don't even know how to explain his voice, that like growl kind of sound. Yep. He's got some deep vocals. Super country compared to everything else that's coming out right now, with the snap tracks and all that stuff. So
have you seen Cody live? Have you seen him live?
I haven't, man. I was supposed to go see him when he was with Luke on that little segment of the tour, and wound up, unfortunately, not being able to go. But I haven't. We're going to see him last year at a very small venue here in close to where we live near Cincinnati. But we wound up not being able to get tickets because it was our anniversary, so we had to compromise and wound up doing something else that night.
Yeah, we bought tickets to a Cody show last year down in Virginia, and I was not super familiar with his music yet, and we actually went for the opener. Josh Ward, which is another big country act that hasn't broke out to the mainstream. And we listened to one Cody song, and then we left.
Man.
We didn't even stay for the whole show, which, I mean, we were driving back. It was a long drive, but I
think I remember you telling me about that, actually. Didn't you get a picture with Josh?
I did. Yeah, we did. Yeah,
I remember
we were
that.
the only people there that were there for Josh. He was super cool to talk to and meet.
That's awesome that you got to meet him. Yeah, I remember you telling me that story because you're like, you like Cody Johnson? This was, last year when we weren't super tight yet, but, well, we were, but I don't think you really knew if I liked Cody that much. You're like, do you like Cody Johnson? I'm like, yeah. You're like, yeah, we stayed for one song. We had to leave. I'm like, what? Now you're probably like, man, I'd stay for the whole show.
It was in like a small college arena that held like probably 3,000 people. I mean, so there wasn't a bad seat in the house, and
that's awesome.
It was, and we should have stayed for it for sure.
Yeah. So who you gonna put at number 2?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I guess I'm gonna put Eric at number 2. Eric Church. I guess he is still current. I mean, he's current in the same way that Aldine and Luke Bryan and those guys that have been around for 15, 16 years are current. But I mean, they're all still putting out hits, so I guess they're current.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, Eric is, as far as a career goes, in the last probably 15, 20 years, I can't think of somebody that's had a better songwriting and, artist career than Eric. He's kind of been able to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants to do it. He kind of is part of the mainstream, but isn't part of the mainstream. He's really carved out a very unique career. I mean, it's hard to even really describe Eric's music. I mean, he's got a lot of Springsteen and Tom Petty kind of songwriting in him, but he's got a really country voice and a really country sounding rock band. But I mean, pretty much Eric's one of the acts that literally could do anything, and I would give it a shot just because I trust his instincts, and I can't really think of any bad artistic decisions that Eric's made in the 15 years that I've followed him.
Eric in church, baby. That's why.
That's
No,
right.
Eric's awesome, and he's one of my favorites. I won't put Eric on my list just because I don't want our list to be the exact same. Typically, I would have Eric at probably two myself, but to keep it diverse, I'm going to go with Morgan Wallen for current artist.
Absolutely.
Just because I think he's very diverse as well. He can hop on a track with Diplo and it's a jam. He can cover Jason Isbell's song, it's a jam. He can put out his own hits with Florida Georgia Line, and I think he kind of dabbles into that what some would call pop country and bro country, and but he still has a traditional kind of raspy sound to him, and he can kind of adapt to whatever he's singing. And he's a awesome performer. I've only seen him one time, and believe it or not, it was the same night that I saw Party open up for Luke Bryan. Morgan Wallen got slotted like 3 days before the show to come on at 4:30.
Oh wow.
And I was like, he wasn't real big yet, obviously, and I'm like, I know Morgan Wallen, I know a few of his songs, and he was on The Voice or whatever. I'm like, we should go see him, and this show is actually at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, the Red Stadium. So huge stadium, and there was like nobody there to listen to Morgan. And he killed it, though, for being a 4 o'clock act, having barely an audience to perform in front of. He was so energetic, and to see where he was, a little over 2 years ago to now is insane. Absolutely
really
insane.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Wallen at number two for sure.
Yeah, we've gotten lucky. We saw we get very few concerts here in Charleston, but right before the pandemic, Aldean was here, and Morgan was his opener, and that was a pretty awesome show. And we actually somehow, some way, got tickets to the last show last year of Luke Combs' tour, and Morgan was the opener in Nashville, and that has to have been one of the loudest shows that we've ever been to. I mean, it was pretty crazy, and I agree. Morgan live, I mean, he's pretty awesome live.
Oh yeah, he's fun, and he only played maybe 5 songs when I saw him. So I mean, because he was like the opening act.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, and his energy was probably what it is now. I mean, I've not seen him since then live because coronavirus happened, and I didn't get to go see him this year. But yeah. So but from the videos I've seen last year, and like that circulate on social media, he's still energetic as hell and puts on a dang good show. But yeah. Who you
awesome.
putting at number one, my man?
Well, I just, I think we're gonna agree here. Even as diverse as we want to be, I think we're gonna agree here. I mean, the only answer would be Luke. I mean, to me, if you take Eric out of the conversation, anybody that's came out in the last 5 or 10 years, Luke is head and shoulders above. There's a reason why he's the biggest star in country music and has twice the streams as everybody else does and is winning all these awards. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, he's definitely brought something back to country music that had been missing for a long time. I mean, I think a whole new generation of kids and people in their 20s are seeing what it was like, in the early 90s when country just absolutely exploded and dominated music. I mean, I think Luke is reminding people of that for sure.
Oh yeah, and I will agree. As diverse as we want to be, I'm throwing Mr. Luke Combs at number one on my list as well. And yeah, and hearing him now, being 29 years old, it reminds me of back when I was a kid, listening to 90s music with my grandparents, having Brooks and Dunn on the radio and all those kind of guys, and Garth and Alan Jackson, all those like instruments and the sound and the substance of the music and everything. And Luke is killing it. He is absolutely the biggest thing in country music, and I think that's just a testament to how relatable he is as a person. He's not this souped up pretty boy with tight jeans on that's just shaking his hips and singing over snap tracks and blah 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 blah. He's kind of brought a change to the current vibe of country music. I mean, you see Luke and then Morgan Wallen and Riley Green and John Party and all these guys that are kind of going back to that traditional 90s sound, and he's kind of been a country music resurgence in a way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm super excited to see what happens in the next 2-3 years, because there's going to be other acts that come out that are similar to Luke, that were inspired by Luke, that get record deals because of Luke, that are going to make great music, and it's going to be because Luke was able to carve this career out right kind of at the middle and end of the bro country era. Luke was able to come along and to kind of take that formula and flip it on its head a little bit, and just really haven't seen anything like this in country music as far as the popularity and the scope of it, probably 20-25 years.
It's insane. And speaking of Luke and how big he is, as you guys can tell from listening, we're obviously huge devoted fans, and I've seen Luke 10, 11 times in concert. How many times have you seen Luke? Can you tally it up?
I knew the answer before the pandemic. I think it's 14, but I could be wrong there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then we've probably both missed 5 or 6 shows already this year that we would have gone to.
Yeah, we had tickets to go together to Chicago for the November show that got canceled.
Yeah.
But we kept them. We're going to go next year. Good Lord of willing, and COVID being gone, we'll be there. So,
We can only pray, man.
Yeah, for sure. We've been to some cool Luke shows together. We did the Flanagan's thing.
Yep.
You came up to Cincinnati at Riverbend, and we saw Luke.
Yep.
And then we made a monstrous trip to Atlanta, Georgia to see Mr. Eric Church and Luke Combs last year.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that show
Yeah,
more at a later date, but man, what a memory that was.
We'll definitely talk about that at a later date. We had a hell of a 2019, man.
We did.
It was a good year, and I was so pumped for
We're going to
this
have
year.
a hell of a 2021 if things get back to normal too.
No, I would pay big money to go to a show like a Luke Combs show or Eric Church concert right now.
I would too, man.
Anyway, how about we kick this episode off with one of your favorite up-and-coming acts that these guys should go check out? Who do you got?
Oh man, there's
On the spot.
Oh well, I'm just gonna say the one that I've been listening to the most, and that would be a couple of Luke's buddies, Muscadine Bloodline.
Okay.
They have put out more. They're a duo from down in Virginia. They have put out more independent music this year, probably 30 songs this year, and they just released their what they're calling their debut album. But like I said, they've probably got 40 or 50 recorded songs out by now, and they have over 1 million Spotify listeners, and they're just an independent act. I mean, they are absolutely killing it. They opened for Luke back in last summer at Virginia Beach when I went to see Luke, and I didn't really know much about them, and they're one of those acts that you see live, and I immediately jumped into them a little bit, and it's just good. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm kind of surprised they're not signed to a major label already. They might be fine just doing it, the way they're doing it.
Yeah, they're awesome.
What about you?
I'm gonna go with Mr. Drew Parker. I've been listening to Drew. He's another good buddy of Luke's. I've been listening to Drew for a couple of years. My wife and I actually discovered Drew at a Luke show. He opened up for Luke 2 years ago. Well, almost 3 years ago now, at a small arena up in up past Dayton, Ohio, Hobart Arena. It was in Troy, Ohio, and I think that place holds like 3,000 people. And
wow.
This was before Drew had a band or anything. It was just him and his guitar. And he just got up there and sang, and no one really knew how to take him at first. But then he, God, what did he sing? He sang a crowd favorite. He covered something. Not Friends in Low Places. It was something along that realm. Got the whole crowd hyped up, and I'm like, this guy's pretty good. He just got the crowd rallied up. So I've been listening to Drew a lot the past month or so. He's got a bunch of new music that's dropped. He's got his latest singles, While You're Gone, and I think it just got pushed to Sirius XM radio.
Yeah, he was just announced today or yesterday is the next Highway Find on
the next
on
Highway
Sirius
Find,
XM. Yeah,
which is huge for him because he's a heck of a writer, man. He wrote, if you guys don't know, he co-wrote Homemade that Jake Owen put out that went to #1 at country radio. So he's wrote other songs with Luke too. One Too Many, Lonely One.
Nothing Like You.
Nothing Like You. I mean, he's wrote some smashes. So keep an eye out for Drew Parker, and if you haven't, go check him out.
Absolutely. Yeah, Drew's awesome. He's got, you want to talk about a traditional country voice. Drew's the guy for you
Yeah.
if you like traditional country voices.
That's right, man. While You're Gone, Party in the Back, I Was Lying, Daddy Did. I mean, he's got so many good songs, and I think this is just the beginning for him.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, that's all I've got there for this episode, man. I think this is going to probably wrap it up. You got anything else?
No, man, I think that's good for this first episode.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, keep it country and take care.